I'm very happy to see everyone again in this new year, 2024. And my prayer is that it will be a very peaceful and successful year for each and every one of us. I want to send special greetings from the Vice Chancellor, who is currently at a meeting, a very important management meeting, so he's not able to join us at the moment. And I want to say here, the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Study is a center where our business is about migration and global studies, which was started, this center was established in 2020, February 2020. So we are getting old. We are going to be 4 years, and so the center is matured. And this center is being sponsored currently by the management of the National Open University of Nigeria, though established by TED Fund 4 years ago. But the management of National Open University of Nigeria is fully in charge of this center at the moment. And I'm happy to also let you know that my predecessor, the former director, the pioneer director of this center, is here with us, Professor Akim Tijani. He's always here with us and passionate about the center. So I really want to thank him and welcome him. Prof, sir, you are welcome. He's far away. Mind you, Prof is not here with us in Nigeria. He's in the US with about 6 to 8 hours time difference. So you can imagine the time it is where he is, and he's found time to be here with us. And that is how he does it every time. I am very appreciative of your commitment to seeing that the center moves ahead. And also here, I'm seeing my former Deputy Vice Chancellor here, Academics, Professor Oji Uduma. We are welcome, sir. Just to say a special greetings to my senior colleagues.
Thank you, ma.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir. You were not here when I was greeting. I have said before now that it is going to be 4 years old, and it was established by TED Fund. However, it is the National Open University of Nigeria that is in full sponsorship of this center as of today. So we really appreciate the management of the National Open University of Nigeria for meeting up and to taking on the sponsorship of this center and making sure the center is still viable. And our business is mainly about migration and global studies. So we can have issues on migration discussed, we can have global issues discussed. So, and our vision is to bridge the gap between humanity and the future. Our mission is to provide sustainable leverage for interdisciplinary research in migration and global studies. And of course, we have our core values and our mandates. Our mandates include providing leverage for field-based and solution-driven research, to serve as agents of national policy for migration studies, to seek grants for academic activities and outreach for sustainability, to publish and sustain peer-reviewed academic journal and monograph series, to collaborate with stakeholders in the field and policymakers, to organize occasional seminars, conferences, and public lectures. On this note, I want to tell you that in the month of February, precisely February 19th, we are going to have a sensitization workshop, which is also part of our mandate in this center, a sensitization workshop on migration issues in Nigeria and perhaps globally. So it's going to be a very exciting one, and it will expose a lot of things. So we shall circulate our flyer when they are ready, and it's going to be virtual as well as in-person attendance, attendance or participation. So we want you to be part of it, because experts in migration all over Nigeria will be there to discuss with us. So having said that, I want to say today, I have a very special person here that I have been on her neck. She allowed me to stay on her neck for some time now. I've been with her since last year, talking about giving us a presentation on this platform. And she is Dr. Nka Obibi Song. And I'm going to introduce her right away. And she is a graduate of University of Ilorin Actually, her first degree was in Calabar, University of Calabar, and her postgraduate studies all was in Ilorin, University of Ilorin, Kwara State. And of course, like I said, she has a PhD. She's a very notable personnel. You know, she works with the security services. She's a director, internal security, directing staff, National Institute for Security Studies. So, you know, when we have people in security services and they are with us, we have to be careful so that we will not be the next people they will arrest. But then that's just a joke. However, she's a very wonderful woman, and she's going to talk to us about security and how it's her first migration. I'm going to tell you her topic shortly, but let me quickly say she's highly experienced, and she's had a very long time with the security work. She was a staff officer, intelligence analysis. These are the positions she has held in Enugu. And then she also a staff officer security vetting in Kwara State, staff officer training, you know, in Abuja here, in the national headquarters, and then local government security chief. And so it goes on and on. So she's a highly experienced woman, highly learned, and somebody I really respect because she's very intelligent and smart and works very hard. She's had a lot of international tours where she had several trainings. And she's been to Belgium, where she trained trained on the challenges of peace and sustainable development in sub-Saharan Africa, governance. She also went to Liberia for training on piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, challenges for international, national security and sustainable development of member states. Turkey, she was there, also on the same thing. Then she also went to Morocco, governance, security, and sustainable development in Africa, Nexus, challenges and prospects. France, governance, security, and sustainable development in Africa, Nexus. Egypt, she also did the same. Angola, and the list is endless. And I know that you all appreciate that this is a woman of timber and caliber in this area of security. Yes. So before, let me talk a bit about her core competence. You know, she has extensive knowledge of security and intelligence analysis, profound knowledge of peace and development studies, broad knowledge of training needs analysis, curriculum development and training management, good classroom management capability, extensive knowledge of gender and human rights issues, project management experience and ability to respect deadliness, effective ability for teamwork, profound knowledge of English language, of course, and successfully participated in AU and AUDA peer review mechanism activities, you know, and her research interest, because she's a researcher as well as being in the security industry. Research interests include security and intelligence, peace and development, human rights and gender, strategic studies and threats of national security. And, you know, I will not go on and on with our presenter's CV because it is heavily loaded, very rich CV. And on that note, let me just go on and quickly say her topic so that she will do justice to the presentation for today, and we can now be able to ask questions from her. Her topic is effects of irregular migration and brain drain on national security. So this is a woman who will educate almost all of us here today. And on this note, I call on Dr. Nkadap Obibisong. Over to you, Ma, to make your presentation. You are highly...
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that very robust introduction. In fact, on a lighter note, I was just telling a few colleagues who are here with me that I'm actually now scared after that introduction. I hope I'll be able to live up to your expectation, ma. Thank you very much for the
You will.
privilege. The Vice Chancellor, Open University, who is unavoidable absent, the Director of the Center of Excellence and Migration and Global Studies at the National Open University, other very distinguished participants, good afternoon. Sorry, we are trying to...
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, it's on. I feel very privileged and honored and excited to be given this privilege to present, to make a brief presentation. I'm going to be speaking on the topic, effect of irregular migration and brain drain on national security. Can I go on, ma'am?
We are with you. We are all ears.
Okay, without wasting time, I've been given 40 minutes or thereabout to speak. As we know, throughout history, existential circumstances have compelled man to move from one location to another, either permanently or on a temporary basis. In recent years, this phenomenon of irregular migration and brain drain have become a source of global concern, more so for our country, Nigeria, as we all know. Now, a study by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs revealed that in 2020 alone, Europe hosted about 82 million international migrants. Europe was followed by North America that had about 59 million, and the United States with 51 million. The International Organization for Migration estimates that between 2017 and last year, we had 959,218 migrants that arrived Italy, Spain, Greece, Malta, and Cyprus alone by sea. This is barring out those who came in by land and by air. Of these arrivals, it is estimated that 250,336, that's about 26%, were nationals of countries in West and Central Africa. Also, interestingly, contributes about 40 million of international migrants globally. And that is 38%, as we already said, of these migrants are irregular arrivals who entered Europe between January and June 2023 alone. Most of them were actually from West and Central Africa. This is compared to about 17% that entered Europe at the same period in 2022. So between 2022, in a space of just a few months, we had about 38% increase in number of irregular migration. Of these countries in West and Central Africa, Nigeria, it said, ranks about 4th and is said to have contributed about 25,422 irregular migrants who left the shores of this country for Europe and America. Like other forms of migration that we know, the relocation of health workers from developing and developed countries is not entirely new, but has intensified over the last decade into near exodus. In Nigeria, a total of 36,467 doctors migrated to the United Kingdom and USA between 2008 and 2021. This is a steady increase from just 1,798 that was recorded in 2008, between 2008 and 2021. Similarly, 60,729 Nigerian nurses left Nigeria for the United Kingdom between 2002 and 2021. 5,208 pharmacists also left the country in the last 5 years to Canada, UK, and US, with about 803 pharmacists leaving. This is in a study conducted by Mwanya 2022. Now, this increasing spate of migration of skilled workers from Nigeria, particularly those from the health sector, has raised concerns about the integrity and stability of the health system that is in Nigeria right now. And as we are going to see in the course of this lecture, health security actually also impacts on national security. This presentation, therefore, is going to examine the effects of irregular migration and brain drain on national security. But we are going to focus specifically on medical brain drain in Nigeria. Why? Because, like we saw in the statistics, this seems to be the greatest challenge the country is facing right now. So we'll be looking at medical brain drain in Nigeria and how it impacts health security and, by extension, national security. The outline for this presentation will look at some definitions. We'll do an overview of medical migration and brain drain in Africa. We look at the nexus between irregular migration, brain drain, and national security. We also examine the causes, the effects, the challenges of managing brain drain and irregular migration. There are also some prospects we will look at, and then we'll give way forward and conclude. For the purpose of this presentation, migration is the movement of people from one place to another. It actually can be categorized into different forms and types of migration. Again, for this presentation, we'll look at regular migration, which is lawful and planned migration. It is done in a lawful and planned manner. On the flip side, we have irregular migration, which is without necessary authorization or is in violation of immigration laws and regulations. Brain drain, this is the loss of human capital and intellectual resources that occurs when a country experiences significant exodus of its educated and skilled workforce. This term was coined in the mid-1950s to refer to the phenomenon in which highly trained professionals left their home countries for more preferred destinations. Medical brain drain specifically is a subcategory of immigration that describes the outflow of human resources, specifically individuals who have attained higher education or are highly skilled, who settle temporarily or permanently in host countries other than their home countries, and they move over for employment and greener pastures, like we know. Now, it is also important for us to understand the concept of national security as it applies to this presentation. National security as a concept is very subjective and has been defined in various ways by different authors, different scholars. Now, it is quite ambiguous sometimes, and this ambiguity draws from the fact that the concept has evolved over time from a traditional perspective, which was held in the post-Cold War era, to a contemporary meaning of today's reality. So national security can be seen from two perspectives: the traditional notion, which is state-centered, that's security of the state, and then the contemporary meaning of national security, which is actually synonymous with human security. We'll explain a little bit further. Now, the difference between the traditional and human security is simple. We have two types of security. I've just said the traditional and the human. Now, what makes it different is simply the referent object. For each type of the security, what is the reference object? Now, for traditional security, the referent object is the state. What I mean here is that during the post-Cold War era, national security was seen to be synonymous with state security, with the security of with the territorial integrity of countries. So a country was assumed to be saved, to have attained national security, if its boundaries were safe, if it was not at war with anybody outside its shores, and then it also meant the protection of the regime in place. So it meant protection of government officials and government interest. So it was solely about the integrity of the state. So the possible threats that were looked at that time were interstate wars, proliferation of arms, revolutions, and all of that. However, in contemporary times, there have been a paradigm shift in the understanding of what national security is. And it is now understood to mean human security. And the referent object here is the individual. So the integrity of the individual is what constitutes national security. What we are saying in simple terms is that if the individual citizen is not safe, is not secured, then you cannot have national security. And that is why we have issues today with terrorism, with insurgency and all of that in Nigeria. Because if you trace the causes of this security threat that we have, you will discover that it's simply because the individual citizen is not satisfied. The needs of the individual citizens have not been met. So now there's a spillover of all of that on the nation. And so we have insecurity. So what are the possible threats that are looked at? You look at threats to the educational sector, to health, to the economy, to food, to human rights, poverty, natural disasters, violence and conflict and all of that. So there has been this shift to the individual citizen when we talk about national security. And it is in that light we are going to look at irregular migration and brain drain, particularly when it comes to health professionals, how it affects national security and the security of the individual citizen of our nation. So overview of medical brain drain in Africa. Medical brain drain stems from the global shortage of unequal distribution of skilled healthcare workers. For instance, in Africa, studies indicate that with a quarter of the global disease burden, Africa actually has a quarter of the global disease burden, which is, but it, however, has, Africa has a quarter of global disease burden, but however, it is home to only 3% of world health workers. On the flip side, the Americas have only 10% of the disease burden, yet they have 37% of the global health workforce. And most of this workforce, you and I know where they come from. To cope with these shortages, many high-income countries have resorted to recruitment of foreign-trained health workers from minimum and low-income countries like Nigeria to meet the healthcare needs of their aging population. 86% of African international medical graduates in the United States originate from 3 countries only. And your guess is as good as mine. Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana, as much as 86%. 2/3 of Zimbabwean physicians emigrate after less than 5 years in Southern African countries. And then half of Ghanaian physicians are said to also leave within 4.5 years of graduation. For Nigeria today, you can only guess what the time span is. I'm not sure they even last up to 3 months before leaving the shores of Nigeria for greener pasture. So the issue of medical brain drain is huge. It's one of the major security threats that we are having right now. In Nigeria, medical immigration began in the 1970s. By 2021, however, like we noted before, about 36,467 Nigerian doctors and 60,729 nurses had migrated. You and I can just imagine what the benefit would have been to Nigeria, to our health sector, if we had these people back home. In 5 years, that's between 2016 and 2020, 5,008 pharmacists, left the country for Canada, and so on and so forth. It may interest you to also note that the Nigerian immigration released statistics that indicate that over 3.6 million Nigerians left the shores of this country in the last 2 years. If that is not an issue of concern for you, then we have a problem. I think all Nigerians need to be concerned about this. So what's the connection? What's the nexus between illegal migration, brain drain, and national security? At the individual level, let's start with that. As at the individual level, although migration in itself, as studies have shown, is not actually illegal or a negative act. It is a positive act. In fact, after the Second World War, migration was actually encouraged. International migration was encouraged. It is a legitimate phenomenon and a fundamental principle of human rights, as stipulated in Article 13 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. However, for persons that are traveling outside their home countries, especially for people from third world countries like Nigeria, who do not have legal documents and or decide to go through illegal borders and ports, migration becomes a very high security risk. These people are actually vulnerable to exploitation from smugglers, from kidnappers, from drug cartels, and so many other criminal networks. Studies have shown that Nigerian migrants are particularly vulnerable to security challenges because of xenophobia backlashes in countries like South Africa and India. We are all witnesses to what happened a few years ago to Nigerians in South Africa. At the national level, the influx of undocumented migrants can strain resources of destination countries, leading to social and economic challenges. This can also pose security threats, as irregular migration may facilitate the movement of criminal and terrorist elements. Yes, I agree that a lot of Nigerians are leaving the shores of this country. We should also not be unmindful of the fact that we have a lot of criminal elements trooping into the country. As we all know, a huge majority of the terrorists we have in Nigeria today actually come from outside the shores of this country. So we also have a burden when we have irregular migration. where people freely pass through borders and come in without checks. You have issues of security challenges like that, like terrorism and the rest. Irregular migration can also lead to loss of human capital and talent, exacerbating economic and social challenges and contributing to political instability and conflict. The departure of skilled professionals, like we said before, like doctors, engineers, and scientists who are living in their thousands every day, can actually undermine the ability of Nigeria as a country or other countries to respond to public health crises, to respond to economic crisis and other challenges, including security threats. Irregular migration and brain drain hinder development of key sectors like healthcare, like education and technology. And don't forget, we have already established that today the understanding of national security, you can only attain national security when you have good healthcare, education, technology, and other economic indices are working well. So when we have the bulk of our professionals who should be contributing to the country in these various sectors, leaving the shores of this country, you and I can only imagine the consequences. So they have a lot of impact on national security. We have the issues of loss of intellectual individuals and researchers. This also impacts Nigeria's ability to compete globally and address pressing national security challenges. Every day we cry about the falling standards of our education. But one of the problems we have, in fact, I think after medical professionals, the next set of migrants that are targeted by other countries are actually those in the academia. So imagine people moving away from this country now, and we complain about the quality of education. So it will invariably affect national security. The movement of irregular migrants also creates opportunity for criminal activities, like we already discussed. So we also have influx of migrants. Besides that, even those who leave the shores of this country, most of them actually end up as victims being used as drug peddlers. And they get into other criminals, kidnapping gangs. And then they also, don't forget, we also have the huge problem of organ trafficking right now. Most of those people who are actually trafficked out, who go out of this country in ways that are not proper, end up as victims of organ trafficking. And they can do little or nothing when they leave the shores of this country. We are not talking about the thousands of them that die on the high sea, die in the desert. So what are the causes of irregular migration and brain drain, particularly in Nigeria? These can be categorized into two broad areas. We have those that come as a result of push factors. These are negative characteristics at home in the country, Nigeria, issues at home that propel them to go out. We also have the pull factors. These are positive developments in other countries that attract Nigerians to move out. Let's look at a few of them very quickly. For the push factors, that is issues we have in Nigeria, we have unemployment and political instability. I am sure all of us on this forum would have known one or two people who left Nigeria shortly before the 2023 general elections. So many people left. Why? Because of the political instability. We have absence of research facilities. We've said that already. As human beings, we always desire for the best. So when what you desire for is not available and you can readily have it somewhere, why not? So these are some of the factors that make people to leave. Employment, discrimination, huge issues, economic underdevelopment, lack of freedom and power of working conditions. When people hear that, even though some of these things are actually, we need to vet them again, hear that, oh, if you go to America, you work in 1 hour, you make so much dollars, you come home and all of that. So all of these things help in aiding irregular migration and brain drain. For the pull factors, we have higher paying jobs outside Nigeria, superior economic outlook, the prestige of foreign training. You know, Nigerians are people who love class and power and all of that. So the fact that you have you are out there, so it gives you that feeling of being higher than others. Stable political environment outside the shores of these countries and so many others. In specific terms, in the health sector, some of the factors that make our health professionals leave this country, also on the lines of the push and the pull factors, include low wage compensation. When these professionals get to hear how much their colleagues who have left Nigeria are earning, a lot of them would want to leave. We have issues of limited education opportunities, poor job satisfaction, unsatisfactory, unstable political environment, like we said before, understaffing. If you go to our hospitals today, I have someone who works in one hospital in the outskirts of Abuja, and she came back to tell me that in a general hospital, they had just 2 medical doctors in a general hospital. So you can imagine how overworked those people are. So when they consider all of this, it is a motivation for them to leave. You also have crisis of supremacy in the health sector. These we got from a study that was conducted where medical personnel, I'm sure the director will be very familiar with this. You have issues of supremacy tussle between nurses and doctors and all of that, and the treatment that some of these professionals get. Others include peer issues. One medical doctor leaves, he invites his friend, his colleague, his classmates, and social pressure that were popular opinion. On the pull side, pull factors, we have job availability, recognition of professional expertise, the kind of treatment they get over there as professionals gives them fulfillment and job satisfaction. So this is an attraction. You have stable socio-political environment, good working conditions, and then retirement and life assurance benefits. All of these also help. We shouldn't also forget the constructed media realities. I want to talk about this because a story that trended on social media recently, because the media out there gives us the impression that nothing is wrong. Everything is beautiful, is perfect in countries in the West out of Nigeria. However, recently there was a documentary that was somebody shared on social media of medical doctors who sold their hospitals in Nigeria and sold everything they had, only to go to America to depend on social welfare. So these constructed media realities, which gives people the impression that everything is rosy and beautiful, you just eat the ground there and you start making millions, also contributes to people wanting to leave. And these things are sometimes actually not true. Finally, another one that is creeping in gradually, whether we like it or not, we need to face it, is the issue of sexual orientation and safety. There are issues of people leaving the country because of issues of gay orientation and all of that, believing they will feel safer in places where these things are accepted. So what are the effects of irregular migration and brain drain on national security? First, we have issues of economic security. Now, brain drain and irregular migration hinders a country's economic development by depriving it of skilled professionals who contribute to innovation, to entrepreneurship and technological advancement. This can result in weakened economy and limited capacity for growth. Like we said before, it has been established over and over again that once Nigeria gets the economy right, most of our security problems will go. So economic security, economic issues are directly linked to national security. And if we keep losing our best, we do not have people to correct these problems that we have, definitely there will be issues with the national security. Another one is national defense. The loss of skilled individuals, particularly in critical sectors such as defense and intelligence, because they're actually leaving. You have a lot of Nigerians who are in the US Army and other security outfits outside this country. If they were here to contribute their best, definitely they will help challenges we are having in Nigeria. So the loss of skilled individuals in defense and intelligence actually undermine a country's national defense capability. When highly trained personnel, sometimes, unfortunately, we need to mention this, that most of these professionals are people that the country spent millions training. We train these people and then the next thing they jackpot. They leave Nigeria. So when we lose these people, it compromises the effectiveness and efficiency of security and intelligence agencies, thereby diminishing the nation's overall security posture. Issues of intellectual property leads to loss of intellectual property and expertise, brain drain and migration. Skilled individuals who leave this country may take valuable knowledge and ideas with them. Like we said, the nation spends so much training there. Most of us benefited from federal universities, which maybe until recently we paid next to nothing to be educated. And the moment they graduate, the next thing they think of leaving the shores of the country. This can impact on the country's ability to innovate, to compete globally and maintain advantage. Also, issues of social fragmentation. Gradually, the country is getting to a place where these highly skilled individuals are creating social fragmentation because they make so much money out there, and not really that they make so much, probably because of the value of the money. When they bring it home, they do all sorts of things, and this encourages people to move out. And besides, there's this imbalance that can lead to resentment and frustration among those who are behind. Every day you hear people saying Nigeria is scam, Nigeria is scam, young youth and young men and all of that. Why? Because they have seen their mates, their colleagues who have left Nigeria and gone out and made so much money and come back. So they just believe every other country, every other place is better than where we are. So it results in instability and social unrest. Some challenges of managing irregular migration and brain drain. The government has done a lot already. However, there are challenges. We have issues of unemployment. It is huge, and it keeps growing. There are also issues of industrial capacity and resources. Institutional capacity and resources. When, most medical doctors will complain that hospitals where they work, there are no equipment and no drugs and all of that. So when we have these issues, they also constitute challenges to being able to manage or reduce the issues of irregular migration and brain drain. The issue of weak border management. As we all know, Nigeria has a vast land border, and a huge percentage of the border is not properly manned. So people influx and people come in and go out at will. So it is a great challenge for managing irregular migration and brain drain in Nigeria. We have other socioeconomic and political factors also. Now, it is not all bleak. Irregular migration and brain drain also has prospect and gains. Remittances and economic contribution. Developing countries, the World Bank recent report estimated that developing countries reached an estimated $529 billion in 2018. And that has increased even with that. So a lot of remittances come back to the country. And for that, it helps in development. They attract investments, and especially with the creation of the diaspora agency, there's a lot coming back. So actually the country gains from that. There's also issues of knowledge transfer and global network. And I have met one or two people in some places. There's actually brain gain also. We have some Nigerians that come back there are a lot of those come back to build hospitals and do a lot of things, invest in Nigeria. So there's also knowledge transfers. They bring back knowledge and then global networks back to Nigeria. So those are some of the prospects. As I begin to round up, we look at ways forward. Can this challenge actually be addressed? Yes, it can. If Nigeria can improve border management, it will reduce to a large extent the issues that we have with irregular migration. As we know, a huge number of irregular migrants from Nigeria actually go through the Sahara, and so through the borders and go at the land borders. Another one is the combating of human trafficking. A lot of people who fall victim, who leave this country through irregular migration, are actually victims of human trafficking. In the course of my work, we have dealt with so many cases where most of those people, in fact, you see them every day on the television when NEMA brings them back to Nigeria, and they will tell you they never knew. They were told they will be given jobs, there will be whatever, they will be exposed. So if human trafficking is checked, it will drastically reduce the number of Nigerians that leave the shores of this country. The country also needs to work on our policies and legislation. We need to have, so far until recently, that the National Assembly discussed the issue of medical brain drain. Actually, we all seem to have been dead to it, and it is actually a huge challenge. So the earlier the National Assembly looked at it properly and then put in place legislation to check brain drain, we will continue to have this problem. There are in the paper, which will be made available to you, we have suggested several ways that this can be achieved. We could have, put down legislation to regulate when medical doctors can leave, and then maybe you gain one, you lose one, and then the country should be intentional in trying to gain back some of the professionals that we have lost. So if this is put in place, it could actually help enhance investment in education and research. This is also very key and important. Improved international cooperation. We need to cooperate with other countries also, so that there could be, an engagement on how this could be properly done. Public enlightenment and campaigns. This is very, very key. This is key. And I believe that, first of all, I appreciate Center for Excellence in Migration and Global Studies for what they are doing. If outfits like this and can do more in enlightening people, work with government to carry out enlightenment campaigns so that people don't believe that so much is bad with this country, then we will be able to reduce the number of Nigerians that want to leave the shores of the country. Institutional capacity building is also important. When all of these are done, we believe that it will help a lot in reducing the challenge of irregular migration and brain drain. In conclusion, the national security challenges that stem from irregular migration and brain drain demand comprehensive strategy that effectively balances security imperatives and humanitarian concerns. So while looking at the humanitarian concerns of illegal migration and brain drain, we must also look at the national security implications and how we can work through this to be able to find solutions. These issues have deeply permeated the social and economic landscape of Nigeria, posing a serious threat to the country's human capital potential. The truth is that if we are sincere to ourselves, I think up to 50%, in fact, there's a study that showed that up to 50% of Nigerian youths, if not more, right now would do anything to ensure that they leave the shores of this country. And that is not good. So this issue has permeated the social and economic fabric of our country, and we need to do something. While it is acknowledged that other nations also grapple with these challenges, as you will see in our full paper, so many other countries, in fact, Nigeria is not even among the first 10. So other countries like Mexico and so many other countries also grapple with this issue. South Africa has this issue, and so many African countries, even Ghana, close to us here. In spite of this reality, we still have to make concerted efforts at urgently combating the detrimental trends of irregular migration and brain drain in Nigeria. So addressing the underlying causes, bolstering border management, making substantial investment in education and research, and essential steps that can help address this challenge. It is on that note that I want to say thank you very much for the privilege of speaking to a distinguished audience like you. I will wait and welcome your contributions, because I believe that you are actually more knowledgeable than I am in this. Your contributions, if there are any questions, we will take them. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, our wonderful presenter. Thank you so much for doing justice to this topic. I didn't expect anything less. So I really appreciate you, and I'm sure our audience, they all appreciate you. Well, we've been on this migration. We can't be tired of talking about migration, but I really appreciate some points you raised, as it is a health security, economic challenges, terrorism, migration, political instability, and so on and so forth. You mentioned so many. And of course, the medical one is very notable, because the queues in the hospital have increased because fewer hands are there to attend to patients. I myself have particularly experienced it lately. In the month of December, December, I was in the hospital for medical care, and the waiting time has increased because the doctors are overwhelmed, the nurses are overwhelmed, and they tell us the people have left. So it is getting to an alarming situation. And I think, and I agree with you, that the country needs to act otherwise. Maybe some of us who are left will also migrate. Because when there's nobody to take care of you, you want to run away too. So where you will be taken care of, if need be, if you will get basic needs. basic needs that you need: food, shelter, healthcare. So we hope that with this continuous talking here and making some of our resolutions, putting them together and letting it go beyond our university to other places, I mean, maybe it will get to the people that will listen, because I guess people know what is happening, but we need people who will take action. Well, I also like that the fact that we know that there's a brain gate somewhere, because people come and establish industries, and of course remittances. All this we know, but we don't really know whether we are feeling the presence of these remittances as much. But I know individual families may be feeling it. That's my own thinking now. Maybe the people that are concerned, individual families, and of course, you talk about border management. That is very germane. I absolutely agree with you that border management should be well focused, and the media has a negative impact on our children by letting them think there are jobs. I know of so many too that have gone, professionals that are there and they cannot practice their profession because it's not automatic, especially in America, Canada, Australia. It's not automatic, because you have to go through rigorous training, and to get admission to go for this training to regularize you to become a medical person in those countries, it takes a lot of energy and time, because you may not be admitted for 5 years. You'll be on the queue. And when you get there, you need a lot of money to also go through the training for them to regularize you as a medical practitioner. But UK is a bit fair, because you can do some exams here and go and do the second part in UK. And then if you pass, you easily get a place. But those other countries, it's not as easy as they paint them. And we're talking about medical, because I'm into medical and I have people close to me that are in medical fields and that are reporting their experiences. And I must say on this note, I want to really get some people. I don't know whether Professor Tijani, we shall talk later, will help me, and some of you, we want to hear some irregular migrants' experiences, even if they say it's only on old audio, if they don't want their pictures or faces to show. We want to hear one or two people, what they really experience, especially the irregular ones, which is a very pathetic one. And then we want to use those voices as part of our presentation in our oncoming one-day sensitization workshop. We need help. Anybody who has such, information can reach out to me. We want to have such. And I know Professor Tijani will help me in that area. I'm not in doubt, but I also need from other sources. Having said that, I can see some hands up, and I want to go ahead straight to give opportunity to our listeners to make their comments and ask their questions. So the first person I'll call here is Professor Akim Akinwale. Professor Akinwale, Happy New Year. You were not here when I was greeting our participants. You are welcome. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year, ma'am.
Yeah, you support us. Yeah, you support us a lot. So we want to hear your comments or your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Director. So I thank Dr. Bisong, brain drain and national security. So my first observation is the exclusion of regular migration right from the topic of our presentation. That observation is on the basis of the realization or the fact that the issue of brain drain has a lot to do with emigration of skilled professionals. And more often than not, skilled migrants tend to follow the regular route to migration. So we need to take note of that. I don't know why Dr. Bisong excluded the irregular migration. So that's the first observation. And secondly, linking irregular migration and brain drain is also creating some complication. I would have suggested that the focus of the presentation is brain drain and national security. So that could have made the presentation clearer, because brain drain itself has migration embedded in it. It is the reality of migration that produces a brain drain in the first instance. So linking that directly with national security will have made the presentation clearer. And my third observation is the fact that we need more convincing statistics that link brain drain with national security. I like how she operationalized national security, and I like how she brought out clearly the human security dimension and those parameters that serve as indicators of human security, which she rightly pointed out to be the foundation of national security. So that's quite commendable. But we need statistics that will show us that it is from this period to this period, this is the volume of brain drain experienced in a particular country, and maybe in the area of health, maybe it's childhood diseases, or maybe it's women mortality or what have you. So we need a kind of clear correlation that will show the direction of movement between brain drain and some indicators of human security beyond mere perception that this is happening. We need to see that, okay, from so-so period to so-so period, this has actually happened. And that will take me to the final observation, which is when we say national security, are we focusing on national security in home country or national security at destination? Because migration flow from different angles, and security implication of migration can be observed at different locations, both in home countries and also at destinations. So on this note, I commend again Dr. Bisong for this important research. Our study is quite relevant and timely, and I hope she'll be able to fine-tune the focus and the direction of the study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. At least you have given the study more flesh. It's more robust, and I'm sure Dr. Onka has taken note of those, and she'll make her comments later. Now, I think I have next year is it Professor Musibao? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I want to join others to commend the presenter. Well, I want to recognize the fact that a paper cannot exhaust all the issues related to it. But from the angle of national security, I want to throw light to two other areas. For example, when it comes to illicit financial flow, most of the time we look at the outflow. We forget to look at the inflow of illicit financial that comes into the country for the purpose of perpetuating security issues. Like there are some, Nigeria has tracked some people who are resident overseas, who repatriate money, who remitted money for the purpose of assisting probably non-state actors or organized national bodies who are into nationalism, like IPOB, like Ohaneze, like other Arewa group, etc., or some other people, other groups that have issues against the state and have at different times, constituted security risk or challenges to government. That is looking at it from the angle of illicit financial flow. These people send money in to assist in perpetrating these serious crimes against the state. And it has been established that even some people send money to Boko Haram, to some of these bandits that we have in the Northwest. And some of the money they even make from kidnapping, they have people who help them to siphon the money to countries overseas, those who are residents or who are probably irregular immigrants, because I know that most of the people who go there legally, they want to embark on legal work. When we talk of the brain drain, doctors who are there as regular migrants, we face their job. However, that is not saying that we not see one or two people who may also have sympathy for all these groups that are fomenting trouble in the country. That is one. Then two, we should start thinking along the line of recolonization. So some people are working on decolonizing knowledge and decolonizing everything of the past. But now it is like self-surrender to recolonization, because it is now all surrendering. And if you get the type of jobs that our people who migrate here do, I can see that we must begin to extend discussion on recolonizing Africa through migration or brain drain or whatever, or irregular migration or whichever. But I see a future of recolonizing Africa. And when the country is recolonized, of course, you can no longer be in control of your security architecture. You can no longer control your information. You can no longer control your economy. A lot of things we come in that will impact on national security. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I'm sure the presenter will take note and add her comments later. I think, okay, Professor Oniye, I'm very excited to see the Dean of Deans of our university here today. Yeah, welcome, sir, and Happy New Year. Over to you, sir.
Okay, I've just done so. Thank you very much, the presenter and the organizer. Thank you very much. I would like to contribute a few points to the discussion on the table. Now, first of all, migration cannot be stopped. It can only be alleviated. Now, within the title addressed by the speaker is huge and fundamentally inexhaustible. So, but I would like to contribute the following. One, a country where there is policy instability, like ours, you keep on having migration. Secondly, the economy of any nation will tend to determine the level of migration or otherwise. For instance, if you look at the monetary stability or the naira stability in our country, it's so discouraging, irrespective of what the government of the day has been doing to stabilize the country. That on its own is enough to jackpot. In addition, the economy determines a lot of fundamentals in the country. For instance, what is the level of electricity in this country that will assist other production sector of our economy? Secondly, is the health sector worth writing home about? Thirdly, how about the roads, basic infrastructures in our country, health system, education level? If these basics are not addressed by the government of the day, there will be continuous migration out of this the country. Now, in addition to that, we have natural disasters. For instance, the drying up of Lake Chad. Lake Chad has been receding in the recent 50 years to the extent that all humans associated with fishing activities have abandoned the Lake Chad region. And it is one of the causes of Boko Haram in that axis, because those that are primarily occupied or very busy within the fishing community, which is a chain business, they abandoned that area, they became idle, and an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And that on its own led to very serious migration or immigration from that environment. In addition to that, we have natural disasters. Although we have to thank our stars that natural disaster has not tampered a lot with our environment. But the aspect that involves global warming, the drying of the extension of the Sahara, the drying of Lake Chad also created migration internally and outwardly. Certain form of migration, such as religious migration, it's there. So I will hope and wish the speaker will look at the policy instability of the country, the economy, natural disasters, and religion as some of the other factors that are related to migration. By and large, thank you very much for organizing this meeting.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. I hope we will see more of you, not only when it's about insecurity, but other issues too. So I hope to see you regularly on this platform, sir.
I'm available 24/7.
Okay, I think. Okay, Professor Tijani, over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon. I would like to commend the audacity of the presenter to share with us knowledge, experience, and I think whether we like it or not, learning, of course, or called. We're here to learn every other time we meet. And for me, I have learned some other stuff based on the presenter's presentation. But I have quite a few remarks that I think if the presenter would kindly look into it, it may help in writing about 4 papers out of this general topic. It is in the light of this that I want to support what the last speaker has noted, and more importantly, my namesake without the H, Akifenwa UI, what he has said. If you just join in, when you see the recording, you will see where I'm coming from. The first thing I noted was some comments or questions, and I will read it so that I can keep to time. I don't want to represent another paper. Definitional fuzziness is one thing that the presenter may want to look at. Who are the irregular migrants? What is the epistemological context? What makes it irregular? Is brain drain equals irregular migration, or is irregular migration equals to brain drain? We need to clearly, dissect that both methodologically as well as in context and in concept. As I stated, the next comment that I have highlighted is the fact that we can come up with about 4 papers from what he has presented today. 1, in my opinion, medical migration and brain drain in Africa or in Nigeria. So we move from the general to the specific that Professor Oniye mentioned, and Professor Akim from UI also mentioned. Or we look at national security and irregular unquote, quoted rather, irregular migration, a global or a national context. So in other words, you can give us a general overview, a global perspective, but I think specificity is also very, very important in such situation on the case study. The third one, in my opinion, is the nexus, in bracket, irregular migration, again, national, and then in bracket, global security, and the brain drain syndrome. And of course, the last one, the center director, probably, we probably have the same mind, but we've not discussed what she has called on me to assist, and they call on others to assist, about memories, migrant voices, memories, and the future. And that brings me to this issue of the fact that we cannot historicize the issue of migration, whether irregular, whether brain drain, whether it is about medical field or the academia generally, by just emphasizing Nigeria. It is a global phenomenon that is threatening the global community. In November, I was in Equatorial Guinea, and I went to a university called or named Afro-American University of Central Africa. It's on the mainland in Oyala. I can tell you that between Malabo on the Atlantic, Oyala, and other places that I visited, the youth mostly were talking about checking out of the country. Up to today, as late as yesterday, I'm still getting text messages because I freely share my numbers And so the issue is something that we can look at specific situation, case studies, so that we can in-depthly look into the issues and the parameters. And then the issue of data that I believe it was Professor Musbau or Professor Akinwale mentioned could be fully contextualized. Also important is this issue of concept. I did not hear the presenter mentioning perhaps the critical analysis of subjecting a concept or a theory to the data that she was able to gather. And I'm raising this issue because of the fact that she mentioned, and we all know that people, rely on social media. Oh, Tijani is in America, is good to go, is well with him, is all rosy and what have you. Oh, Aneto is the director of Center of Excellence. Oh my God, she is stickingly rich. She's better. There's an Elos that she's driving as official car. But they do not understand the back end situation. They have no idea how, for instance, the VC of now will tell you that he got to know this Tijani operating from his personal car under the tree when he returned and asked her, who is this guy? And they said, oh, he's the director of so. Why is he in a car operating? They do not know what that teacher that migrated, whether regular or irregular, to the United States or even to UK or any part of the developed economy is facing in terms of certification. I can go on and I can give personal experiences because I am personally an embodiment of, call it Jakpa, Jakpada, and Jalo. And I will contextualize this very shortly next month because it's so wide. The situation is so, it was Baba Sogolo, Professor Emeritus Sogolo, that shared with us his own experiences. And it's one of the first publications in the Journal of CMGS. So I want to appeal to Dr. Nka to look at, contextualizing the two concepts developed some time ago that are critical, relevant to what she's doing, whether she chose to streamline the title and look at specificity as opposed to general, analysis. One, critical self-epistemological analysis. Critical self-epistemological analysis is a concept that will educate us more in terms of the push and pull factors, but more importantly, in terms of the politics, the development, and the challenges of migration that Professor Oniye rightly noted will never end. Second one is a biographical pedagogical discourse. You want to check out, you are a medical doctor, you are a teacher, you are a counselor. You have no sense of what medical doctor XYZ or teacher BCY has gone through to be better informed and be better prepared. I think those two concepts would help. Lastly, I think a solution-driven is also important to sensitizing our people, as the presenter, rightly mentioned, to also decolonizing the challenges and the way forward, in my opinion. So solution-driven is important. In terms of us, let's now come back to Nigeria, also being the source. Don't blame it on the social media alone. We have officials that are encouraging, and that is illegally for personal gains and what have you. Again, I will wait until I present that paper. I don't know, maybe it's next month, about Jakpada, Jalo, all within the context of my experiences in Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, England, and the United States. I thank you so much, presenter, and I thank you most sincerely for giving me this opportunity to share with you my view. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Tijani. We are never tired of listening to you because you are a practical person in the field of migration. At least you are a migrant, so you have every right to educate us on migration. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I think for now, I can't see more hands up, so we'd like the presenter to react to some of these points raised, either by answering them or by acknowledging what steps she wants to take next. Thank you. Dr. Nka, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I feel honored to have received this wonderful input. In fact, after listening to all the professors, I felt I had done nothing. But I want to acknowledge the fact that they have added so much value to what I did. And I think all were very useful suggestions on how to improve the paper. Ma, you would recall that this morning, I actually met you that I needed to adjust the topic because it was actually quite wide. So they have confirmed that, and I'm going to work in line with their suggestions and try to improve on the paper. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity. I'm truly grateful, ma. Thank you.
Thank you. So, like Professor Tijani said, 4 papers can come out of here. And in fact, I would say even more if you look at it critically. So, you're going to just be sieving them down. And when you want to be talking, you soon become a migration expert, because when you sieve them down, you have so many publications coming out of this topic, and you just see yourself flowing in the migration balance. So that's the essence, that's the beauty. When we come here, we get educated, because like we always know, so many heads, and not only general heads, but learned heads who know the nitty-gritty about migration. We contribute to it. So we also benefit when we are ready to also help, when we are ready to give, like you were able to make a presentation on approaching you, and so you will also gain something. So it is a reciprocal action. So you get and you give and you get, and that is the spirit. So we want to encourage those who have not presented on this platform to just message the director, and we are good to go. I also want to tell you that we have our journal online, and the administrator has posted it on the chat box. International Journal for Migration and Global Studies, for those who don't know about it, is there. And the last volume that was produced in December, we are waiting for the hard copies from the printing press, and it will be out very soon. I mean, before the end of this month, hopefully. But the e-copies are already online. So just go well to that site and read so many interesting, topics and presentations we have in that journal, and do well to go to our YouTube page and like and watch previous presentations. There are so many there. Watch anyone that appeals to you, like it, subscribe to it, and of course we have our Facebook account, YouTube, and then, of course, our journal online, as well as our center. The Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies is online, what we do, and so many things. And like I said, we are going to have a presentation, a sensitization workshop on the 19th of February, which is barely a month from now. Yeah, we're going to have that. And many people will come that even know the nitty-gritty of migration in Nigeria. At least let's look at our country first, and we're going to talk about it. So migration issues in Nigeria will be the focus, and experts will come from all over to address us, on that topic on that day. So please, when I send the flyers to you with the link, if you are not in Abuja, join us online. And if you are in Abuja, don't join online, come physically, because the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So you will enjoy us when you come. The Vice Chancellor has decided to host us, and that is very magnanimous of him. And so come physically if you are in Abuja. I can see Professor Shaw.
Yes, ma.
Is it up or is the last one?
It is. It is.
Okay, sir.
I just wanted to appeal to everyone on their various network to also share your view about like, share on Facebook, on YouTube. You see, this is a campaign that we started 4 years ago, and it is important for us to key into it. And why? Because it will be, in the long run, a source of alternative revenue for this center. This center that is indeed the first. This is the first center of excellence in Nigeria, started by TED Fund. The facts are there. For those of us in history, facts are sacred. Opinion differs. They cannot. No one in Nigeria can take that away. That indeed the first center of excellence across Nigeria under Bogoro, TED Fund, was established at the National Open University of Nigeria. And that cannot be taken over. If 10 or 11 were formed thereafter, they took a cue from us. And as such, and I'm saying for us because I'm still a visiting professor at the NOUN, I have a stake, I'm a stakeholder. So, but we should, while the Vice Chancellor is taking care of that administratively, we must campaign for this alternative source of income for the center. So I admonish you, I beg you to please go to Facebook, go to YouTube, and share and like and subscribe. When you subscribe on YouTube, you know, it's a very, encouraging thing, because this is the only center that will not charge you for your intellectual property. That is what we establish. You don't pay for publishing. And I believe that has not changed, Madam Director. So that I will be.
No, it has
not
not changed. It's free
Thank you
of
very
charge.
much.
It's
Thank
FOC.
you very much. Thank you very much. How we doing it? How we did it? How she's still doing it? Go tap from her. Okay. So I just want to piggyback on that. That is why I raised my hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. The link is on the YouTube of the YouTube. It's already on the chat box. You can look at that link and just click on it, and you just see a lot of things on migration that has been done, and so many will still be done by God's grace. So on this note, if there are no more hands up, no more questions. Okay, I saw Professor Adenuga. These are wonderful people I'm seeing today. Professor Adenuga, welcome and Happy New Year. I hope you will continue to join us this year. Let it not be only today. Oh, there's somebody, Dr. Kundayo Samuel. Sorry, I think I saw that hand up sometime, but I missed it.
Okay, now my director.
Dr. Kundayo, if I may say, is the president of Commonwealth Alumni Association. So you have a big
down at a point, so I didn't see it again. So please, over to you, Dr. Kundayo Samuel.
Oh, compliments, my Happy New Year to everyone on the platform. So I want to thank Tijani, who also shared the link with us. And I am happy when I saw the topic of the discourse, and I had to leave my other meetings to join so that I can also see what is happening. And I remember that last year we also had something like that, and under the Commonwealth Alumni Association of Nigeria, in connection with the British Council. So I think is a very important topic that I think everybody should be interested in. And I'm sorry I missed the discourse from the speaker. I would have also said maybe if it's possible, it's time for us to begin to look at those factors that actually warrant migration, legal, illegal, And also, if possible, we can also look at the distribution of these immigrants. So I think that is also very important. I remember in those days when I was in Port Harcourt in River State, some part of the Yorubas, they have a particular place where they reside in Port Harcourt. So if you say initial from Osun State, you see them in this area. So I think it's just a global form of immigration that we're having now. So the people that are living in Nigeria, what part of the world are they actually migrating into? The Igbos, the Hausas. I think it's good that we have that data and begin to see what could have led to that distribution. And I think that will also add to another data point for the presenter. So we could know, maybe is it that the Igbos, for example, migrate to the UK, the Hausas, they prefer Saudi Arabia, and also so let's see the distribution pattern of this immigration, and I can also say that I think one of the factors that we also need to look into the reason behind this. And I was happy Professor Oniya was giving us a very wonderful suggestions as regard the government policies. Also, I think trust is also something very important. So if you don't trust your leaders, there is this inner push to actually move away from them. So I think it's a good one. I want to thank you again for the invitation, also for the time given for me to contribute. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. We appreciate it so much. I don't know. I think I'm not missing out anybody now. I think that's about it. All I will now say is one last word from our presenter. Any last word from you? You always have the last say as a presenter. Then I will now close the meeting. One last word.
Oh, thank you so much, Ma. I learned so much, and Ma, trust I'll be back. Thank you so much, sirs. Please keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And on this note, I want to say a big thank you to all our participants, because without you, we would not have had a fruitful deliberation. So we really thank you for your time and your interest in seeing that this center continues to wax stronger. On that note, I want to say bye-bye to you and have a very blissful year 2024. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Ma. Thank you very much.